Greetings, aloha, my name is Jack Music, and you are watching episode number 2 of the Etheric Warriors Radio Hour. Today we're going to be speaking to Cassandria of Quebec Orgone. You can find her online at quebecorgone.com and also at soulsynthesis.com, and I will put those links down in the comments below this video. Cassandria is a conscious sound designer and a healer. She's been studying various energy healing modalities for over 10 years. She's an avid researcher, and she's well known in alternative energy research circles for her work with orgone energy. In 2003, she founded Quebec Orgone, which is a leading manufacturer and retailer of orgone energy healing devices. She built the website ethericfire.com in 2004 for DB. She releases techno and tech house music, performing worldwide under the moniker Cassandria Daiva. Her other interests include visual art forms, web and graphic design, videography, sound and lighting design, tantra, yoga, and freediving. She won the Canadian National Depth Freediving Championship in 2012. Cassandria spends a lot of time both in her studio workshop in Montreal and aboard her sailboat Aqua Soul, currently anchored in Panama. And as I mentioned before, her websites are quebecorgone.com and soulsynthesis.com. So let's turn it over to Cassandria. All right, Cassandria, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm really honored to be speaking to you today.
It's an honor to be part of the show today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe give us some more of your personal history pre-involvement with Orgonite.
Well, where do I start? I mean, I'm about art and self-expression. So I evolved in the music industry, the underground dance music industry, so namely techno, tech house, house music. And that's really my background. That's really got me started even working with energies. It might sound strange for many people, but playing with music, having these people dance, those are the things that really got me started with studying the dynamics of soul energies and stuff like that. And then I think that was in 2001, around just that time, I think, I started questioning what was around me, the reality as we know it, the consensus reality that we accept as being our world. I started to question myself. I started to doubt the information that was being fed to me through the media, through the newspapers, through even back then through the internet. And I had this sort of awakening when I realized that the chemtrails were real. That was in 2001. I saw the chemtrails for myself, by myself, for the first time. And I thought, I have to do something about it, but there's nothing that can be done. So I thought. And a bit of research on the internet and just being busy sucked into this fear porn that we call, just getting more information about the stuff that's going on in the world and the stuff that's all the bad stuff and the negative thought forms. And I came across this website, and there was a guy named Don Croft with his wife Carol, and they had the adventures of Don and Carol Croft. And I read into it, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was a bit of a science fiction type of thing, and it's like, okay, well, it's good entertainment, but what if it's real? And as I said, I was just open to anything because I started questioning what was around me. And basically, I thought, if that is real, I want to do what this guy does. I want to do what he does. I mean, it's an inspiration. That's what I want to do with my life. I had these moments of inspiration twice in my life. Once was when I was 17 years old, and I saw this DJ, Mark Anthony, playing here in Montreal, and I looked up at the DJ booth and I said, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to play music. I want to make people dance. And several years later, I came across Don Croft. Said, well, that's what I want to do with my life. Again, another interest that popped up. So I started experimenting with art. TB, because they were all devices, getting rid of chemtrails, changing stuff in the atmosphere, and I wanted to figure out, well, does it really work? Is this all like up in the air, or it's really the real deal? And I gathered a bunch of material. I mean, crystals and just a couple of crystals and metal shavings, bunch of resin. Went out on the balcony, just poured a couple of TBs, I think like 4 or 5 of them. And then black helicopters showed up and shit went down. I mean, that's in 2001, so 2002, I think. 2002, or yeah, that would be in end of 2002 or beginning of 2003. It's kind of not sure on the timeline here. And yeah, that's really, okay, well, yeah, this stuff works. There's really something to it. And I mean, I could not just stay there, not do anything, knowing that there's something that can be done. So I started gifting and making these devices and just going out on the field and just throwing all these devices out there, doing basically what Don and Carol were doing. And I learned about boosting. We had these new devices, the Sucker Punch and the Power One that had just been invented back then. So it's really it's a long history of this movement, and I was there at the very beginning. So yeah, that's pretty much what got me into it.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our viewers can identify with some of that story, because I know a lot of us had that experience with reading The Adventures of Don and Carol Croft and then wanting to gift Orgonite and then getting involved with gifting. So what, let's talk about the gifting for a little bit. Tell us about some of your gifting runs, and maybe what is, like, what are some of your gifting accomplishments that you're most proud of?
Accomplishment. I think the beauty of gifting is that you can validate it. You can see, okay, well, there are all these claims that are out there on the forums, on the various texts, and people say, well, the Orgonite can change the environment and then heal the environment and get rid of chemtrails. Well, these are pretty bold and wild claims. And I think that's the beauty of gifting, is that with very little material and very limited resources, you can actually put something together, go out there on the field, and just make something happen. And everybody can see it for themselves. I mean, with your own eyes. You don't need to be a psychic or see energies or any of that. You just need to go out there to open your eyes. You observe, you see what's going on, and you see the effects. So it's clear as day. So in that sense, I think that's really the beauty of gifting. Now, the accomplishments, I mean, I think it's irrelevant whether you're gifting 10 devices or 10,000, like some of the big names out there. I'm thinking people like DB, or I like to call him CB's work, like in the old days, or Don himself, or more recently, these guys, Fran and Carlos, that did the amazing run in the Canaries. So I mean, these to me are big accomplishments. But then again, it goes with the resources that you have. So I mean, if you're sort of poor, not really poor, but if your money resources are limited, and you manage to just gather a couple of pennies and you manage to build 10 devices, and that's what you can give, then it's just as big an accomplishment as somebody who has big resources and will go and give thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of devices. Also, people like Steve Barron, for example, was very busy gifting in Toronto. I mean, this guy was awesome. He was just giving it all, thousands, tens of thousands of devices on a regular basis. He would buy these 45 gallon drums of resin, which just had stuff piled in his warehouse. It was, but he had the resources to do it, and it's great. I mean, what I'm saying basically is that you got to put what you can into it, and there are no my measure of success is not whether the mission is big or if it's small. It's just a matter of just going out there and doing it.
That's an excellent answer. I think what I meant maybe was maybe what are some of the places that you're most happy or most proud that you were able to gift to, or maybe some places that you saw some of the most dramatic results?
Well, I have to say that, I mean, throughout all these years, I gifted, I don't know, several thousand maybe TVs. I think obviously didn't count them. Did did quite a bunch of gifting here in Montreal. I mean, years ago, started the I started the whole process of gifting here in Quebec while building Quebec Oregon, launching the French Forum. And to me, that was just the obvious. It's just multiply yourself, multiply your time. That's the basis of successful business, but it's also the basis of successful gifting to me. It's just multiply yourself, teach people to do it. So when you do it, you go out, you're gifting, and while you do it, you try to recruit people to be doing the same thing, so to speak. So that was the idea, along with my gifting. So that's probably the thing that I'm the most proud of, is getting all these people involved, just like Don and Carol did. Just like Don went and he built this forum. I built the forum for him, but it was his vision with Etheric Warriors to get all these people involved and to inspire them to go out there, because he obviously, I'm sure Don, I can speak for himself, but I'm convinced that he understands that he cannot tackle the whole world just like I can, and just like nobody can. So we need to recruit people, or to at least inspire them to do something about it, and that's by multiplying yourself. And when I say multiplying yourself, it's just show people, replicate. That's my measure of success in terms of what I did. That's the thing that I'm the most proud of in that aspect.
So you mentioned the French language forum. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
And tell us about the history of that a little bit, please?
Yeah, but that was the I'm talking about the Quebec Oregon Forum, because there are two French forums, and by now, I mean, I sold the business Quebec Oregon several years ago, and I just got back into it this year. And while I was away, I mean, things are changing, so forums are not what it used to be. And the forum, the Quebec Oregon Forum, just basically is not as successful as it was in terms of attracting visitors. We have a bunch of resources there, so we have a lot of readers, but not many people are posting, which I think, I mean, it's better not to have many posters, but to have good stuff, than to have tons of content and just most of it is just BS and a ton of crap, like we see in some of the most popular forums out there, which I won't name, but we kind of get the idea here. So same thing's happening obviously in the French language dynamic here. So I mean, there are good resources, but that's the thing. When I first started, there was nothing in French, and if you did not read English, if you were not an English reader, then you wouldn't even know that Orgonite existed. There was very limited information on chemtrails as well. It was just happening all around us, and very limited stuff. We had a couple of conspiracy websites and stuff like that, but it was just basically David Icke stuff that was just translated and recycled and fed back into the French speakers. And I said, well, I thought to myself, this has to change. And basically what I did is just grab some content stuff from Don Croft and ideas that we got from the old Cloudbuster forum back then, and just made translations and posted that. And it really spread really quickly and turned into what it is today. I mean, nowadays we have obviously the French language, but we have sites in Italian, Spanish, and each country has their own little Orgonite site, which is really cool. It's very different. It was not like that. Obviously, we had the Warriors site, or even before that, it was the Cloudbusters website, which is no longer active. And then there was another site in between the two. But that was really the reference. There was nothing else, and then it started to spread, and it's gotten to the point where a lot of people know about orgone and the orgonite devices. I mean, some people that are not really into conspiracy or alternative thinking or solar energies. They know about it. They've said, oh yeah, I've seen them, and my friend has one, and those are the things I hear. So it's getting to a point where it's just not going mainstream, not yet, but it's getting there, I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I for the first time had the experience of meeting two people, two new exchange students here that both had seen orgonite, and they're both from Spain, and it blew my mind because in America I was always explaining orgonite to people and trying to spread it. And yeah, I guess I finally had that experience too of meeting someone that already knew about it. Yeah. I guess that shows that we are making progress with spreading it around.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and not just that, but when you start attracting these people, then you attract more of them, and then it's really hard. It's difficult to measure how many out there, because we tend to attract the people which we resonate with. So people I meet around me are people who are really, in general, really aware, really awake, and that are really doers and doing something. But it's not necessarily a reflection of the masses, but it's a really very good reflection of how I am inside, the people I interact with and that I encounter.
So can you tell us a little bit about the founding of Quebec Orgone and the history of the business, and yeah, just tell us about Quebec Orgone, please.
Well, I've been building websites for years, and back then I thought I was getting all the results and getting all these helicopters and all these crazy things that were happening. And I thought to myself, well, there's a demand out there. There were already a couple of vendors. I think back then we had George in South Africa and Andy from City Pastors. So these were the big two. And I said, well, might as well just throw something together, build a website, and see if I don't have any material or anything, but I'll just take pictures of what I have, and if somebody orders some, then I'll just go buy the supplies and make them. So I put together a quick website, threw it out there one night. I went to bed, woke up in the morning, there was an order. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Sounds interesting. And so I went, bought the material, filled the order, and then another order came in. I was like, okay, well, then rinse and repeat. I did that, and then things really took off. Back then, we were just building gifting devices, TVs and even Cloudbusters, I think. Maybe not at first, but then we had the HHGs, the TVs, and all the tactical devices, basically the gifting device, and that was it. And I added Sucker Punch and Power Ones, and just the usual stuff for the warriors. And that's why I like to say that Quebec Orgone is one of the big threes, the original vendors out there. Although over the years it really evolved into something else, something completely different. I mean, I realized pretty quickly that building devices during the winter was kind of difficult here, because we had really cold winters. So working with polyester resin was kind of tricky, and keeping up with the demand, and I saw that basically the market was just getting more competitive. A lot of people were offering the TVs at very low cost, which is great. But I said, well, I got to specialize and do something else, and that's when I really started working with epoxy resin instead, and making really personal, interactive devices for personal use and healing and expansion and growth and all that. And over the years, really the business evolved into what it is today. So that's kind of the history of how this whole thing got started.
And looking through your product line and looking at your website, it looks like a lot of experimentation and research went into creating these devices over the years.
Yes, a lot of experimenting, and that's the thing. That's one of the things I'm really proud of, is that when we have a recipe, I like to call them recipes, when we have a recipe that works, that's really proven, that's effective, then we should stick to it. I mean, if you order a pyramid today, chances are it's going to look pretty much the same as if somebody else had ordered a pyramid 6 months ago. Sometimes things change a little bit, like for example, we can replace one metal by another kind of metal. It goes with obviously with the supply. But in terms of the crystals, the gemstones, and the configuration and the molds, and we really try to keep everything standardized in a sense. So everything really uniform. So yeah, I mean, I'll show you later. You see all the pyramids; they all look the same. They all have the same configuration, and they're really proven. I like to say time-proven recipes, like the small pendant here. The original pendant is the same today as it was in 2003. So these things work, so why change it? And over the years, obviously, sometimes we come up with a new approach or a new device, like the special pyramids that Alex came up with, which is by far today our best seller. We have a new pendant that just came out. I just created the new Dodex system. So I mean, it's pretty cool that we can offer all these devices and just meet the demand of people who have some people really want devices that are personal, interactive, and that's what we do best, and we specialize in. So I'm really proud of the product line that we have. I often like to say that it's a merging of form and function as well. These devices work, but they're also, I have to say, they look great. They're super shiny, probably like no other devices out there because of the resin we use, but we also have some proprietary processes to finish the devices and stuff like that. So I mean, these look great. I had a friend of mine the other day who is a believer, but he's not into these kind of things. But I mean, he's seen so much over the years that he believes it. And he told me, you know, Cass, even if these things didn't work, I would still buy them because they look great. And to me, that was kind of a nice compliment. He said, no, but you know, I know they work, but even if they did not, then I would still buy them because they look great. So that was a great comment, and made me realize, yeah, okay, we have beautiful devices, and obviously there's always room for improvement. So I still have quite a bit of ideas for new stuff coming up in next year in 2014. New models, new devices, and also to improve upon what we have right now. I think I like to say, well, these are proven recipes, but I think it's time for some change as well on some of the models, some of the products. Not necessarily improvement, but change. Just so you know, so we change it, kind of like fashion, but just to evolve.
Well, so since we're talking about your products, can you maybe give us a tour of your production, or show us some of your product line?
Yeah, well, what I could actually do is perhaps I could give you a little tour here. This is the shop. So by the way, if you have a question while I'm doing this, I can pause it. So it's a video I just recorded before.
No, just...
So if you see anything in there, and you have a question and you say, well, okay, what about this? Just tell me and I'll pause the video, because it goes through the shop kind of quickly though. But so this is a shop itself. It's a very small room in a small apartment, but everything's self-contained in there. This is our humble shipping department. Very humble. This is my personal altar. Always a reflection of my inner state. I like to have everything displayed and really to put what's inside and have a way to put it in physical form in 3D. So that's why I have this altar there. This is the crystal and stone department ingredients. We have DT. These are Lemurian crystals that we use for these special pyramids. These are coiled, and we will be going into some pyramids. DTs, a bunch of DTs, various sizes. These are the small ones used in the large pyramids at the bottom. These are interesting synthetic crystals that I use for experiment. It's not for the product line, but these are beautiful. They're clear, 100% clear. DTs again, DT crystal, bunch of them, various sizes, various quality, different for different devices. Gemstones, you see there, hematite, peridot, and a bunch of different crystals again. This is the actual production area. All these are things that we have in stock right now, but that's usually where I actually built the devices themselves. I put everything neatly, but it's usually not ordered that well. I wanted to make it look good for you guys. So these are gemstones. We see a bunch of here of different kind of metals, awesome power wands. These obviously pyramids, HHGs, some coils here. Interesting coils that we use for the HHGs. We see the little coil form, the white thing there that we use to shape the coils. Again, all our pyramids, these the ones to the left are not quite finished yet. They need to be made all glossy and shiny using our proprietary process. Tools, various tools, finishing tools and stuff. And lastly, you have here this station that I used to build zappers, actually the frequency generators. And again, all these boxes contain a bunch of metals, different metals, copper, aluminum. I'm out of brass right now, but I got a bunch of stuff. This unique pyramid up there stays above the work area, and it's got a small pyramid inside, very specially made for the shop. And you can see this nice digital artifact there, this blue hue that's kind of showing all this energy level through the digital technology here. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, that's a quick tour of the shop.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, first question based on seeing the video. Tell us, I guess I'm just curious a little bit. I know you said they don't go into the products, but what's up with these synthetic crystals that you showed us there?
Oh, yeah, okay, hold on a second. Okay, so these here. Well, these are lab-grown crystals. So I got them off, I think I got them off eBay actually. It's kind of cool. And these are, they actually contain at the very center a natural quartz, natural crystal. And they are, through some chemical electrical process, they grow into these things, which are usually used to create, I think, CPUs and other stuff like that. For watches, you see your watches, there's quartz in there. So it's obviously not natural quartz, it's synthetic quartz. It's clear, it's 100% clear. I mean, it's see-through. It's like water. And I thought to myself, well, I could maybe try to experiment with these. And I made, that was the first thing I made with these synthetic crystals, was this sort of souped up sugar punch. So basically it was just an experiment. I run a lot of experiments and always trying new stuff. I can show you some of the, talking about experiments. These are the infamous radionic modules that I talked about very briefly. It's a little USB drive here. It goes into the computer. Yeah,
That's
and
so cool.
it goes with, and it's connected to the radionic server that I built. And you have these. This is the personal device that goes with it. That's the second generation, by the way. And these are being tested right now. I mean, I sent a couple to a few people out there, and most, especially the psychics from Etheric Warriors, and I had pretty good reports. But I didn't, and that's one of the things, I didn't really talk about it very much. I didn't post anything because I'm still waiting some confirmations and more information. I just don't want to go out there and make bold claims. I know what these things are capable of. But to go out there and start writing about it and say, well, you can do so and such with it, I think that's not the way to go. If you start just making claims without backing them up, then that's to me, that's a no-go. So that's why, I mean, you see it here, it's exclusive, so to speak, but until it's really well documented and proven, then it won't be available for sale. So anyways, that was just to say that these crystals are just part of an ongoing experiment of trying to find new stuff, talking about, let me show you another video talking about these radionic stuff. This is the master, I would say, master radionic machine. That's my own personal device that I use for radionic work and stuff like that. So it's got two awesome dodecahedron. I don't know how you pronounce that in English, but anyways, this driver here, which got a bunch of switches and stuff, and it's got crystals in there and other interesting stuff. And you can see this device here to the right is actually it's a little recorder, like an MP3 recorder, but it's actually used to feed sound into it. But I can also use it when I'm performing live, playing music. I can actually bring it with me and feed the music into the radionic device and stuff like that. So anyways, just neat experiments, but stuff that I do not really talk about in public until I get some really strong confirmations. And even then, I mean, most of this stuff is really proprietary. It's hard to build. It's complicated. It's really, like Don likes to say, it's sophisticated, and it really is. And in that sense, it's not for everyone. And I don't want to start just spreading all this stuff out there and have people just play with energies that are extremely powerful. And I mean, it's not for everyone. And I figured all this stuff by myself. So I figured that if somebody really has to get that knowledge and that information, they'll just figure it out by themselves as well. I don't need to talk about it. Now, obviously, some of this stuff might eventually be translated into our product lines, or not. Depends. I go with the flow in that sense.
So you don't have to answer this question, or if you do, we can edit out the answer. But I'm curious about what you just showed us. So then when you're performing, do you feed the music into that radionic device, and then it puts it out in etheric waves or something?
Absolutely, yes. It's etheric waves, but you have these two devices that are connected to the box. I like to call them hubs. So we have two hubs, and it's a dual system. So you have two polarities here. You have the plus and the minus, and you can actually assign to it whichever meaning you want, and then you can really start playing with interacting with the crowd and start playing with the energies in big time. And you can heal people. That's the thing. You can heal people, but you could hurt people. You can create and you can destroy. You can pretty much do a lot of stuff with that, not just because of the orgonite, but everything that's going on behind it as well. So because just I want to make sure that I do not introduce the idea that you can use orgonite to harm people. That's not the case. But in this case, there are other technologies behind it, other stuff which I don't want to show. But so it's not the orgonite, but the whole thing in itself could be used for good, for evil, for creative purposes, for destructive purposes. It's just, that's the nature of that beast. I like to call it my little beast. And anyways, that's to answer your question. Yeah, and I've had great stuff happening with it. I've had not so great stuff happening with it. I've seen a lot with that machine in a small period of time that I've been using. That's version 2.0, by the way. That's the second generation of it, and this is an ongoing thing. I mean, this is something I've been experimenting with for now 6 or 7 years. So yeah, I guess that hopefully that answers your question.
Definitely it does. And switch here. So that seems like a perfect little segue into one of the questions I got for you. Someone asked, what kind of feedback have you received about your psionic technology?
Oh, so yeah, the radionic stuff. Well, I got amazing feedback from Dooney and from the psychics, mostly from Dooney because she's been using it and her device broke, so I have another one here that needs to be mailed and sent to her, and that would be the second generation. And she kept telling me how this device she was using the creator module, saying that it really helped her to connect with some of the higher frequencies and higher dimensions, and how it really helped her unravel all this stuff that was going on with the time tunnels and some of the stuff that we encounter in the chats. So that's part of the feedback that I got. Again, that's the reason why you're not seeing more of it yet, is because I don't have much more feedback than that. I've been using it myself, but I kind of, myself doesn't count when it comes to research. My perspective, my perception of it might be skewed, so I just don't really put that on the line. So I'm waiting for more input. Don will be testing one of them. He wants to use it to, I think that was, what was it? To help him learn some of the African language or something like that. I think. Anyways, that's if Don wants to report about it when he gets it, and then when he receives the device, and if he gets good results, then all the better. If not, then I'll just keep improving it. But I've seen by myself some of the effects of that, and to me, I mean, I can talk about it, but just don't take it as, you know, it's what it is. It might be true, it might not be true. It's just my own subjective experience. But I've seen timeline shifts and stuff like that. What I call going into the void, which is basically when everything around you starts to sort of dissolve, so to speak, and you have some objects that are anchors, and it's really difficult to describe a process that's really difficult to describe. But then everything starts to just go away, and you're just self-contained, and then everything that's around you is just non-existent. You realize that it's just energy, that it's not real, and then it can be changed. But that would be the next step, is how to actually rearrange stuff. So that's the next step for me to learn stuff that I'm not necessarily ready to go to these levels yet. We'll see in the future. But so yeah, so that's some of the experiences that I've had with these devices. But it's not, obviously not something I'm going to write about. I'm going to post about it on the forum or even on my own website. No, it's way too subjective to be reported at this point. So, and I might just give ammunition to some people to just shoot me down. You know, just, oh, she's crazy, she's insane, which might or not be the case for you to judge. But I mean, that's some of the experiences I've had with the devices.
Someone kind of asked about that stuff, so since you mentioned it, let's ask their question.
Yes.
They said, they wrote, I'm reminded reading of you seeing lots of sci-fi like weird stuff in higher dimensions. Can you talk more about this, please?
Where do I start? I mean, to me, okay, well, I guess going to the whole timeline edition type of thing, because to me that's one of the things we don't talk about very much. We don't see very much of it. But to understand the nature of time, the fact that there's really no time, we're experiencing time from a linear perspective. But in reality, if you go into higher dimensions, then time is non-linear. Everything happens at once from beginning to end. It's just, and so if you learn how to go above that state of appearance of time being linear, then you get into a position where you can actually start seeing the whole thing from beginning to end. So next step means that you can actually start changing and rearranging all these things, which means that all your past can be changed, can be rearranged, and all your future as well. Obviously there are limits to this. Some of the limits might be limits that we give ourselves, and other limits might be imposed by some higher forces or higher powers, or not. Anyway, so to me, working with timelines and timeline edition, what I like to say, I like to call it timeline edition, which is basically being able to edit the timelines. That's the key to world peace. That's the key to our future as a species, and co-creating our future with other species as well. What this means is if you can have different timelines, then I can choose to have an experience and to have a reality that's different than yours without infringing on what you want to have. So to me, that's a solution right there. I mean, if you want to destroy the earth, here's your copy. Do whatever you want with it. Give me mine, and I'll just, everything will be fine, you know. And then that way we can just, I don't know, once in a while maybe meet, swap ideas, exchange ideas between the various groups, factions, powers, whatever, and just move this whole thing forward, each going into their own timelines, experimenting, creating stuff, and then you get back together, you gather ideas, you exchange, oh, well, no, I don't want that timeline anymore, I want to go with you guys, and stuff like that. So people start jumping in between different timelines, different realities, and to me, exploring that multi-dimensional, multi-timeline, multiverse idea, that's the key to solving all our problems, our collective problems. That's, in short, my perspective on this take.
Fascinating stuff. So let's get to some more questions from everyone. Okay. So this person writes, and of course I think this will be your subjective opinion. They said, what is your version of the most likely answer to? Why is there aerosol spraying, blown oil wells, and blown nukes? And then they also ask, well, okay, let's let you answer that, and then their other question.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough question. Why? Well, I think at one level or another is because we allow it. We allowed it, or we allowed it. Not necessarily we allow it. We allowed it. It's just, we have to remember that everything we have around us or present is a reflection of all our choices and actions from the past. So if we have this now, it's because we allowed it in the past. Now, how? Why? I mean, why in terms of function? Why are they spraying? What are they trying to achieve with that? Well, what's the technology behind it? It's this, I don't know. I know and I don't know. There's so many, it's like this. Which side do you want to see? And you know, depending on how you look at it, you'll see a different side. And then just choose the side that you prefer, and just keep staring at it. But that won't change the fact that it's just one side. If you really want to understand the whole thing, you have to look at it from an outside perspective. And even then, realize that all you're doing is just turning something, and really, what's going on is inside. So that's why. Why are they spraying? A friend of mine has a good, to get back into more concrete and physical answers, which I'm sure a lot of people want. A friend of mine kept saying that it's part of some technology to implement a new version of the internet. And it was sort of like building a web of telecommunication, which made sense. But which makes sense, I mean. Is it true? I don't know. I didn't go into all these spheres where they have these underground bases and secret dark research programs, and I'm curious about it. Those are things that really fascinate me in a good sense. I mean, I see all these things. I don't want to. I don't think it's right to be doing this without collective consent and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I think these technologies hold tremendous potential. You can use anything for creative purposes, or you can use anything for destructive purposes. I'm not saying they're using it for good creative purposes, but it's there. It's been invented. Obviously, they're spraying. Okay. Now, why are they doing it, and what's their intent, and what are they trying to create? I'm not sure, and I don't know. I don't want to say, well, this is what it is, because then people would think that this is the answer, and my suggestion would be just try and come up with your own answer, your own version of it, which is what I did. And bottom line, I think all these technologies, evil technologies, are quite fascinating. I mean, you could gather all this stuff and probably put it to good use somehow. And one other thing is that you can really choose not to have any of this in your timeline, which is, I mean, I haven't seen chemtrails in ages. They're not spraying here. Sometimes, yeah, but that's usually when I encounter weird people and they just come in my timeline and stuff like that. But I just try and stay in a reality where these things are just not there. I mean, don't get me wrong, these things exist. I've seen them with my own eyes. I've had black helicopters just following me everywhere, and weird stuff, and getting my tires on my car slashed, and really insane stuff that you would think it's really high-end science fiction stuff. And we would build these tower busters, and I had 3 or 4 of them, and then all the chemtrails started to dissipate and just to vanish. And then it would come and spray even more, and then just cover the whole sky, and then you'd build more devices, and then start gifting everywhere, and which is what I did years ago. And nowadays, I mean, the chemtrails are gone because I did all this, obviously, but also because now I'm learning how to access different modalities of thinking, and I could just flip the switch and have a bunch of chemtrails coming up or not, which is the beauty of it. To me, to be able to choose what you want to experience. And obviously, I'm sure these things serve a function in some way or another. So, yeah, that's my take on it.
Excellent, thank you. And maybe you actually just answered their second question here, because you said something a second ago about finding your own answer. But they write, their second question or their follow-up was, is terraforming the planet by another race or races very high on your list of possibilities?
I'd say, I mean, terraforming would be a cool technology to have. I mean, I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but it would be a great technology to harness in one way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that you could use it to terraform the planet so that we can't live on it anymore, but you could also use it to change the way things are. I mean, just reverting the desert. That's a form of terraforming. It's what we do. It's what we do with the device, by gifting, going out there and just. So in a way, it's just the other side of the coin. So it's possible. It could be. It could not be. Ultimately, as I said, it's up to you to find the answer for yourself. What do you think is the case? And where do you want to go with this? And whatever you find as an answer, is it really helping you to become creative in what you do? And I like to refer to things as being, I don't like the idea of positive, negative. I like creative and destructive. That's my own kind of duality thing here. We're either creating something, creating a better future, creating more wealth, more beauty, more happiness, more love, or we're destroying what's already here, and we're just creating worse conditions and disease and poverty and suffering. So we're either creating or destroying. But that's the thing, is as you destroy the good things, you're also creating suffering and other stuff like that. So that's the mystery of the whole thing, is how you want to apply this whole idea of having this duality, which exists right there, which can be flipped, which makes it a core, like a 4 square thing, and then you can flip, and it's stuff that even I'm not sure how it works. So just crazy ideas.
No, I really love your answer there, because when you think about it, Orgonite gifting really is terraforming, but it's terraforming the planet for the better. It's cleaning water, cleaning negative radioactive energies. It's making people feel better. It really is terraforming, isn't it?
It is. I mean, and that's the thing. Labels. You know, these big words. Ooh, terraforming. It's been put in their mind. That's bad. It's evil, because you see it in the movie. And gifting. That's good. That's good, because you know it's good. We're gifting. And these are just damn words. and the words mean nothing. I mean, they mean something. They mean whatever you want them to mean, and I think that's key to understanding that, especially when it comes to big triggers like this, like terraforming or chemtrails, which is like all hype and stuff, or any of these words. I mean, it's just you give them meaning. You give them a charge by saying yes, it's good, or no, it's not good. It's evil, or it's positive, it's negative. You're giving them charge, a positive or a negative charge. And this, since this whole reality is really what an electrical system, then by having polarity, whether positive or negative, you kind of create a potential, and it goes either one way or the other way. And who's the ground? You are. So you're kind of, anyways, it's really an electrical system.
I know somebody's going to want me to follow up on what you just said about the chemtrails are just hype. Speak on that for a minute.
Chemtrails, no. I want to be clear that these things exist. I mean, and that's the basis of it. It's just if you can form it in your mind, chances are it exists at one level of reality or another. But I mean, chemtrails are very real. Now, do they create all these crazy disease and suffering, and is it really what it is, or it's just, you know, okay, yeah, they're spraying again, big deal. That's my approach to it. It's like, yeah, folks, all right, so what? And that's kind of the approach that a lot of people take in this. Yeah, we're just gonna gift more. We're just gonna make more devices and just do with it. You know, I mean, they're just creating more rain and sunshine and good stuff for us, because we're sort of using that crap stuff and turning it into something else. So I mean, is it hype? I think there comes a point where, you know, it's just everything is used to feed something. And the more emotions you're putting into a concept or an idea, whether it's fear or it's like super in love, whether you one extreme or the other, you're feeding one side, you're feeding the other side, you're feeding something. You're just a little battery. You remember the Matrix? They're like, hey, this is what you are, Neo. And then that's kind of how I feel sometimes about this whole idea of just everything having a charge. And the more you get emotional, the more you react. I might say some things, and I know a lot of people are like, yeah, no, but you know, you shouldn't say that. And yeah, thanks for feeding me, or feeding the concept, or feeding whatever, you know. So yeah, that's just my advice would be just be conscious of where your energy goes, and that's the whole premise here.
Let's get to a couple more of the questions we had for you. Okay, this is a good practical one. They ask, does a Sucker Punch's crystal ever need clearing or charging?
That's a good one. Well, not mine. I don't know. Depends the environment you're using it in. But I mean, obviously, look at this behind me here. I got dozens of orgone devices, and that's just one room, and they're bunched everywhere in the house. So they're getting cleared and all the time. So as far as I'm concerned, not really. I mean, it doesn't hurt to clean them, just like it's good to clean yourself as well. So what I do is I often take my Sucker Punch with me when I'm having a bath. I clean myself, I clean the punch, and I just have some juicy targets as well when I'm there, and I can just be more effective with it. So I mean, these things love water, obviously, so it doesn't hurt. I like to move my stuff around as well. Sometimes I just take a pyramid and just move it, especially when I feel that it's just I'm not getting any momentum, things are not moving, and the energy is really just not circulating, not moving. So I just go around the house and just move things around a little bit, and just take the and yeah, I might put the Sucker Punch under running water, just not really to clean it because it needs it, but just to refresh the whole thing and then recharge it, so to speak. And So yes and no, and then most importantly is, do you believe it needs charging or not, or it needs cleaning or not? That especially the Super Punch, it's perhaps one of the most interactive of all the devices that we have. Is the Super Punch and the awesome power ones here. These are extremely interactive. That's their own function. I mean, if you put it there and you just don't give it any command, it won't do much. But when you start using your intent and start directing the energy flow, then you can make great stuff happen with it. So in that sense, if you tell your Super Punch to create for itself a program where it keeps itself clean, chances are, well, it will always be clean.
Excellent. Okay, they also ask, I have seen a few videos on YouTube touting something called an Obelix. Have you ever heard of or used one?
Yeah, that's a cool question. I had never heard about it. And I mean, Jack was kind enough to provide it to me in advance, so I could actually just have a little look at it and know what we're talking about. So no, I have no experience with it. And on first research, I mean, the image photo came up and said, well, this looks like a Super Punch. But I did a little bit more research, and it's more than that. I think it's a device that has some potential, but you see the problem with this device that I see. It's not with the device, it's with the way it's being promoted. I see all these claims about this Obelix, or however you pronounce it, that it will eliminate all the chemtrails and clear the atmosphere, and basically do everything that orgone does, but with a single device. And I'm always wary of these claims when something comes up, and it's, you know, it's just like orgone or orgonite, sorry, but it's better. That you lost me there. I mean, prove it. Prove it. I mean, I'm open to the idea. I hope that maybe someday somebody will come up with something, you know, that's super tiny like this, and it's costs nothing. You just fold a sheet of paper in a certain pattern, and it's more effective than TB. Would be nice. But to me, that's sort of, it might be a little bit of wishful thinking, but at the same time, I'm open to the idea. Why not? I mean, if we can get something cheaper, better, more effective, yay. Problem is when you go out there and you start making these claims and you don't have any proof, you don't have any photos, you don't have any validation or any of these confirmations that we get, and you're just claiming it, saying, well, this is what it does, or it's better, it's stronger, it's faster, or whatever. Well, prove it. And that's the reason why I do not publish most of my research, is because it's just subjective. It's here, I experience it. I can tell you, I went in these higher places, different dimensions. I had the room rearrange itself, and things moving. I can tell you this, but I don't have any videos or photos to prove it, so I can't really say, well, use my device, it does such and such. And I sort of expect the same level of integrity from other people. So if you just create a new device and you say, well, you know, it does all these wonderful things, my answer would be to prove it. And the little bit of research I did seemed to show that we didn't have much of these proofs or anything to really back the claims. So I just file it in the little folder back there, saying, well, it's a device which obviously, from my own energy sensitive perspective, has potential. It does something, obviously. Maybe it's an ingredient that we could use into some super evolved, interactive, personal orgonite device, or use it for certain applications. But to me, it's wrong to go making claims that you can just build this little crystal, wrap around it, put it in the forest out there, and it'll clean the whole city. That's to me a load of crap. Not saying that the device is a load of crap. The claims made around it are, obviously, and the device has potential. But again, it's really my subjective take on it. I do not have personal experience with it. And would I actually go and build one? It seemed very simple to make, and then I did a little bit more research, and it seems to be more complicated than it seems. So it's really a really tedious process, and you really have to know what you're doing, get some ingredients, and do it in a certain fashion. And that too is a downside. Is if you have a really, you know, it's really easy to screw it when you're building it. That's a major downside. I mean, how wrong can you go building a TB? I mean, resin, crystal, metal, very simple, 3 ingredients. You just put them together, no matter how. I mean, if you fuck up building TB or HHG, I mean, you're doing something wrong. You're probably doing it on purpose. I mean, it could be super ugly. Could look like crap. It could be the ugliest device ever. It'll still work. And that's the beauty of making orgonite, sorry. And that's to me something that's clearly lacking in the Obelix and many other devices and technologies that are being pushed out there. And often the problem is not with the device, it's with the claims, the way it's being presented. And I think that's something that we can hear a lot in the forums, and Don keeps telling us, like, well, I don't have any problem with it, but prove it. So just trying to make it really simple, but this is my take on it as well. Sorry. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And last question we had that was submitted from the readers of Etheric Warriors was, your store used to sell forms for winding coils. Are you planning to sell them again?
Yes. Yes, I promise that I will have them up for sale in 2014, maybe in January, maybe a little later. I'm trying to source a new supplier. I used to buy them from Chris Murphy, who was a machinist. He was making them for us, and he no longer makes them. I mean, he's unreachable. So I've been trying to source a new supplier to get these. I mean, these work great to make these little perfectly shaped coils in about 10 seconds using this little device, which is threaded, and it's just very simple, very effective, and it's beautiful. And I swear I get at least one person per week asking me if I still have them. So I know you guys want it, and eventually it'll be back.
And I have a couple more questions, but maybe we should save them for next week.
It's up to you. I mean, entirely up to you. I mean, next week I know we're still probably gonna have a lot of things to talk about, because it's going to be a completely different setting, completely different environment. I'm really going to be in the field, so to speak. So it's entirely up to you.
Well, okay, let's hold off on some of these, and maybe I'll post this first part of this, and we could get some more questions from viewers.
Okay.
But let's tell us about your album at least before we sign off.
So yes, the album. It's a music album I just released and I created not too long ago. And as I mentioned before, I'm a house and techno electronic music artist, and I wanted to do something different. I was sort of not really stuck, but feeling that I was not getting the results I wanted in terms of producing my music. And I said, well, I have to do something different, just immerse myself into something completely different, just so I can take my mind off of my production and my workflow and the way I do things normally. And it started just as an experiment, and I said, I'm going to make one track that's really like really lounge and super relaxing, more like new age. But I don't like the term new age, but the genre of music is called new age. And I said, well, okay, I'm gonna try something along these lines. I made a track in a very short amount of time, and I was quite pleased with it. So, well, let's make a second one. And then I created a second track, and everything went super quickly, and it was a great flow, creative flow. And I realized I was just immersing myself into a really creative and profoundly healing process for me as an artist, for me as a person, my soul, the whole thing. And this album came out, and that's what came out of it. And I'm just happy to have it out there, and I just released it. So if you like music that's borderline a bit electronic, but really down tempo, smooth, easy, meditative. For me, that's how I envision my meditation, because that thing keeps spinning super super fast. So my meditation is not necessarily as slow as other people's meditation process, but to me, even that type of music, which is really smooth, down tempo, fits in with my meditative patterns. So I think it's a wonderful album. I'm quite pleased with the results, I have to say. So, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback. And so I invite you to just have a listen. You can stream the whole album from the website, and if you like what you hear, if you want to download the album, you can order a CD as well. So it's all on the website.
Yeah, so visit soulsynthesis.com, and you'll see the website right here on the screen, and the link you can find below in the comments. And okay, well, let's wrap it up for today then, and this was really fun today. I really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was great.
And let's we'll do a part 2 next week. So I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, just so so the viewers have a little background. I'm flying down to Panama in 2 days from now. So next week we're going to be doing the follow-up from my my place down there in Panama. We have a beautiful property that's on the shore of a remote location that's called Dolphin Bay, and it's a beautiful off-grid house, home there. We have the dolphins swimming in the back, and you can see them from the balcony. So it's going to be a really interesting, I think, part 2, which is really a different dynamic and different perspective. So see you then.
I think everybody is looking forward to seeing part 2 now after hearing that promo. So safe travels, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And all right, so there you have it, folks. That's part 1 of our interview with Cassandria of Quebec Orgone, and we'll be speaking to her again next week. And so if I post this first part and this makes you think of any questions, be sure to email those to me at innerislandorgonite@gmail.com, and you'll see that on the screen. So we'll post part 2 after we do that interview. So again, thank you everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. Aloha.